Hi, and welcome back to Craft Along with Jay. My name is Yetta, and I'm so happy you could join me today. Today is the Calendar Girls collaboration, which is hosted by Tiffany at Simply Blessed Crafts, and typically it's Jessica from The Busy Housewife, but she wasn't able to make it this month, so I'm hosting in her place. And we also have a guest host this month, which is Michelle from the Southern Shell. And don't forget to check out the playlist down in my description box once you're done with this video. Okay, project number one. Got this calendar from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use that one. I think that's October's page. And I'm just gonna rip out the whole page from the calendar very gently. I don't want it to rip because I'm gonna use the whole page. And it's fall is my favorite, and it has listed all the fun things to do in fall. Then I'm using this wood square from the Dollar Tree, and I had run out of Elmer's glue stick, so I have this Elmer's spray on glue. It's the first time I'm using it, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, um, but it worked out okay. So I'm just spraying the whole square, making sure I got every inch of it covered, and then I'll just add my little page and smooth it out, just making sure like there's no bubbles and wrinkles. So I'm just trying to smooth it out, and once it's dry, I'm going to use my sanding block and sand off the edges. Then once that's done, I got these bamboo sticks, and I'm gonna measure all the sides to make a little frame. And I'm just using my pencil to mark off where I need to cut it. And I'm going all the way around. And I decided not to measure on the same side, just in case it wasn't quite the same size. When it comes from the Dollar Tree, you just really don't know what you're gonna get. Even though it looks straight, it may be a little bit off. So I just decided to measure on each side. And then I'm just using my miter shears to cut them. And then making sure that that cuts straight. And once that's done, I put them back on so that way when I measure on the other side, I know exactly where to cut it. Because you see, they kind of going straight up, so that way it's going to be a bit shorter for the other two um, pieces that I need. So I'm just going to lay it down and then mark off where I need to cut it. And I do the same thing on the other side as well. Just using my miter shears to cut it. And then just double checking to make sure it fits. And here I decided just to measure on the same thing since the other two sides were equal. So taking a little bit of a chance here, but one of them was a little bit longer. So I do end up trimming it down a little bit, but at least it wasn't too short. And here I'm taking my antiquing wax and I'm just going over my little bamboo pieces here, just darken them up a little bit. And I'm just using a paper towel and wiping it on and kind of wiping off some of the excess as well. And then I'll let that dry for a little bit. And I want to thank my subscriber Bent for buying me a cup of coffee. I really appreciate it. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And here I'm going to just add some hot glue to my frame pieces and put them down around my little fall sign. And I'm just using some hot glue. And I started with the longer pieces first. And I'm just adding some of the clamps here just because the wood square is a little bit warped. I want to make sure that the frame touches all the way around. So we just add some clamps here and then um, it'll fit tight around. And here's the one that was a little tiny bit too long. And I just cut that off and sand a little bit on the end and then it fits perfect. And you don't need to leave the clamps in very long. The hot glue um, dries fairly quickly. It's just enough so that way there's no gaps because of the warpiness of the wood square. And then here I'm not very good at drawing, and it looks a little funny, but it works. I'm just drawing a little apple here on the side with a pencil. Luckily, not all apples are looking the same. They're different shapes and sizes, so I have that in my favor here. Then I got this red burgundy jute twine, and I'm just hot gluing around the outline of the apple, and I'm gonna outline it with the jute twine. And I'm just using my hot glue gun to get that attached. If I got a little bit too much glue, I'm just kind of scraping it off with my fingernail so you don't see any glue lumps around my apple. But it's not too bad for being drawn by somebody who can't really draw. It worked out okay. And then I just took some of this covered wire. It's like brown. I got it from Hobby Lobby. I just made a little stem for my apple. And then I decided just to spruce it up with some leaves. I got a little green leaf for my apple. And I'm just gonna glue some of the other fall leaves around um, the frame, the frame part of it in the middle. Just kind of embellishing it up. And I really like how this one turned out. I got my little red, I mean my green leaf for the apple. And I'm just decorating around. Trying to sort out all these glue strings. They're everywhere. And the little set of the fall leaves that you see right there, I got that from Hobby Lobby. I believe it was, excuse me, last year, the year before. I can't remember. Probably last year. And I really like them. They're very pretty. And they're good for decorating things like this. Still working with these glue strings and lumps. I love hot glue, but man, it's a mess. There we go. Just kind of looking around to see if I need to add anything else. And I think, yeah, decided to add one right down here in the corner. And then I just use some jute twine and I make a little hanger to put on the back of my little frame. Okay, for project number 2, you'll see the finished products at the end as well. Here I drew another apple on some foam board from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to use my box cutter to cut it out. And I'm making 3 of these apples. And I drew them separately. I didn't trace because I just wanted them to look a little bit different, just because apples look different. They're not all the same size or shape. There can be a little variation, so I decided just to draw them separate without tracing. And I just kind of keep cutting around until it's cut all the way through. There we go. And then I go through my calendars. I was looking for different colors. They're not all the same colors either. So I have one here. I used this flower and I got some red and some yellow on it because you see some apples looking like that. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to trace around one of the apples and then I'll cut it out. And then I do another apple that's going to be mostly red. And then another one that's green, like a Granny Smith apple. So they'll look different. just making sure it fits. And here I'm cutting one that's mostly red. Making sure that one fits as well. And then we'll do the green one. And I had to pull out a different calendar to find the green that I needed, and that was big enough to fit my apple. And it fits for the most part. There's a little bit of white on the side, but that's okay. No apples are perfect, and neither are mine. And yeah, making sure it fits. And then I'm just gonna paint the apples. Two of them I'm gonna do with, I think, apple red, and then the other one Kelly green. And I'm not painting the whole thing. It's mostly the sides and then the edges around because I am gonna glue those calendar pieces on top. And here I got this wood board from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just gonna strip it of everything, and then I'm gonna paint it with a coat of hazelnut, and then I'll distress it with bark brown and plaster. And here we're starting with the hazelnut, which is very similar to the natural color of the board. And here, while the paint is still wet, I'm gonna distress it with some bark brown all the way around, just to my liking, just how I want it. And I wanted it to blend in nicely, so I did it while it was wet. But I do let this dry before I distress with the plaster. I just wanted to kind of give it like a as much of a natural wood look that I could, distressed wood look that you'll see, at a farm. And that's what it looks like. Very aged and distressed. I like it. And then once that's dry, I'll put it aside to dry, and then I'm gonna cut out this part that says locally grown, you pick. So I'm cutting that out. And what am I doing next? Putting that to the side. Okay, and then we're gonna glue the cut up pieces on our apples. Had to wait for the paint to dry. There's a lot of drying in this whole process here. But we start with a red and yellow one. And then that fits on, excuse me, that fits on there perfectly. And I'm just making sure it's getting out to the edges and smooth it down so it fits perfectly. And then once that's done, I am going to lay it all out on my wood board. So first I put down locally grown, you pick, and then I'll line up the apples under it just to make sure I have the space that I need and it looks the way I want it to look. And what you won't see in this clip, but you'll see it at the very end when you see all of them finished. I do distress the wording here, the locally grown you pick. I do distress that to make it look aged. I didn't want it to be all nice and crisp because it didn't go with everything else. So I will distress it, and I just use some antiquing wax to distress it. And here they look all attached. Then I'm going to use some more of this covered um, wire. I think it's wiring that's called. And I'm just cutting some pieces up. I'm going to fold it over so it's double. We're going to make the little stems for our apples. Because the apples are so big, I wanted to kind of thicken them up a little bit. So I fold it over so that it's double. And then I just twist it all the way from the top to the bottom. And then I'll just lay it down to make sure it's not too long. If it is, I'll trim it a little bit. Otherwise, I'll just start gluing it down. And then I'll also add a little leaf to go. Just one for each. What you see me do in the first one, I'll do the same thing to the other two. But here, I probably should have done the leaf first because I do tuck it up under the stem. So, yeah, note to self, do the leaf first and then the stem, like I'm doing right here. That was a little bit too long, so you just cut it down a little bit. It's better to have it a little bit too long than too short because then you just gotta, remake the whole thing. So, yep, there it is. And I just put a little hang on the back, and there it is. Okay, so project number 3. I am going to use this empty little paint bottle that I had cleaned out, and we're going to use some bamboo sticks. And here I'm just going to measure the length of the paint bottle. I'm going to mark it, and then I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to cut enough to go all the way around the paint bottle. And I'm just using my Midas shears. These bamboo sticks are so easy to cut with those. So once I cut one, I just kind of measure from there, like so. And then we'll just cut them. And I think, if I remember correctly, I end up using 4 bamboo sticks, 3 or 4. Because what I cut first, I didn't have quite enough to go all the way around, so I end up cutting one more. So it may be 3, because I've cut 2 right now, and I still see one there. So probably 3. And then I'll just glue them onto my little empty paint bottle all the way around. And I line them up close so they touch. And the nice thing with these bamboo sticks is that they're so narrow that it doesn't leave any gaps around this paint bottle, as you can see right here. Then once I've done that, I am painting it with some antique wax to darken it up. And then I'm just taking some jute twine and I go around one time at the top and one time at the bottom. And then I go 2 rounds in the middle. So it looks like a nice little barrel. And that's what it looks like. I think it's super cute. Then I'm going to use the word welcome that you see here from the back. And once I cut that out, I'm just going to hot glue it around the top of my barrel. Just make sure I press it down. And then I'll take some of this raffia and I'm going to just stuff it down into my little barrel and have some of it sticking out on the top. Give it like a nice farm feel to it. And that's what it looks like. And then I'm cutting out some more red pieces from a calendar. And the sizes of these flowers are perfect for what we need to do here next. And I'm just cutting all the blue off. You don't have to be so nitpicky about right on the line. As long as you just get all the blue off, it doesn't matter. Then I'm taking some of these wood beads and I'm gonna wrap them in the red paper from the calendar. Make a little apple. And I'm just using some hot glue to get the paper in place and keep it there. I'm gonna make 3 of these. So yeah, just cut all the blue off. I did use a little bit of glue try to hold the bead in place, and then I use hot glue to attach it to the sides and then work my way up. And then at the end, I'll scrunch all the paper up and then glue it down. And it makes a nice round shaped fun apple. Maybe a little bit wrinkled, but that's okay. Can't be all smooth, but it works out for what we need to make with this. So definitely use your finger protectors because it does get hot even through the paper and the hot glue. And then once we've done that, we are going to make some stems. And once again, we're going to use that the brown covered, um, the wire from Hobby Lobby. And here, because the apples are so small, we're not going to double them over. We're just going to cut them straight from there and attach them. And then add them into a little pail. Excuse me. And they're right there on top, so that works out really well. They don't fall down into it because we have the raffia straw right there. Isn't that cute? I love it. You could leave it like that on a tier tray, but I wanted to take it a little bit further. So I got this little wood plank from the Dollar Tree and I painted it with plaster. And once it's dry, I'm going to go in and distress it with some antique wax. Kind of dirty it up for a farm look. And I go pretty heavy on it. Just make sure you get the sides and the bottom and the top because it will be seen if you hang it. But it will probably still fit on the top of a tier tray if you wanted to use it for that. Then I got this little wreath. It was like in a Christmas thing. And I just took the frosted leaves off and the little ribbon, and I'm just going to add some of my little fall leaves to give it a fall look. And then I got my barrel that I am going to hot glue onto my little wood palette from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to attach it to the side. And then we'll attach the wreath. And it's nice for this one. You can hang it if you wanted to hang it, or you can just stand it up like this because of the barrel. It stands up perfectly. So, yeah, it can be used in different ways. And here I'm just going to cut out the word open daily. So it's almost like a little um, place at the farm where you go buy apples or go apple picking and stuff, and you see all these things there. So it all goes well together, I think. I love it. And I'm just going to trim it down to size. And then I glued it onto the top of my wood palette, and then I'm going to frame it with some jute twine so it looks like a real sign hanging there. Then once I've done that, I'm going to go in with some antique wax and I'm going to distress my sign, kind of dirty it up a little bit, make it look like a nice farm sign. Then I'm going to decorate it with some more of these fall leaves from Hobby Lobby, make it a nice fall themed for the farm, and this is what it looks like. I love it. What do you think? Let me know. And here's a look at all of them, and all going to be hanging. Here's my little fall sign with my homemade apple and my apple sign, and you can see I distressed the top. And I want to thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end of my video. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Until next time.